The champagne flutes clinked in mockery as Marcus stood at the entrance of the Sterling Hotel's grand ballroom, holding his daughter's trembling hand. He hadn't wanted to come. God knows he hadn't. But 7-year-old Emma had received the invitation herself, a thick cream envelope with her name written in elegant script, inviting her to her cousin's wedding. How could he explain to his little girl that her mother's family had only invited them to parade their failure, to showcase how far the once promising architect had fallen? Marcus smoothed down his daughter's hair, the only nice dress she owned, a hand-me-down from a church donation box, suddenly feeling too thin, too obviously worn. His own suit, pressed carefully the night before, couldn't hide the frayed cuffs or the slight discoloration at the collar. But Emma's eyes shone with excitement, and that was all that mattered. He would walk through fire for that smile. "Ready, sweetheart," he whispered. She nodded, squeezing his hand tighter. They walked in together, and the whispers started immediately. Marcus felt every eye turned toward them, felt the weight of judgment settling on his shoulders like a familiar, unwelcome coat. There was his ex-wife, Diane, standing near the bride, her niece, looking radiant in designer clothes he could never afford anymore. There was her new husband, Richard, with his Rolex and perfect teeth, whispering something to Diane that made her laugh behind her hand. Marcus recognized that laugh. It was the same one she'd used 3 years ago when she'd walked out, taking their savings and leaving him with nothing but Emma and a mountain of debt from his failed business. The same laugh she'd used when she told the judge he was an unfit provider, though she'd lost that battle when Emma had tearfully chosen to stay with her daddy. "Marcus, you actually came." Diane's sister, Patricia, the mother of the bride, glided over with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "And little Emma, don't you look sweet?" The pause before "sweet" said everything. Emma's smile faltered slightly, and Marcus felt his jaw tighten. "Thank you for the invitation," Marcus said evenly. "We're honored to celebrate with you." Patricia's eyes gleamed. "Of course. Family is family, no matter the circumstances. Please, find a seat. Though I'm afraid the ones toward the back might be more comfortable for you." Marcus had been a fighter once. He'd built a successful architecture firm from nothing, had designed homes that dotted the city skyline. But the recession had hit hard, and one bad investment had toppled everything like dominoes. He'd lost it all trying to save his employees' jobs, and in the end, lost them anyway. Diane had called him a fool. Maybe she was right. He led Emma to the back, past tables adorned with centerpieces that probably cost more than his monthly rent. Past relatives who suddenly found their phones fascinating. Past Diane's parents, who had once called him son and now looked through him like glass. The ceremony was beautiful in the way that money can make things beautiful. Flowers cascading from every surface, a string quartet playing softly, she guests in clothes that cost more than his car. Emma watched with wide eyes, enchanted by the fairy tale unfolding before her. Then came the reception, and with it, the speeches. The best man told jokes. The maid of honor cried happy tears. Then Patricia stood, microphone in hand, and Marcus felt his stomach drop. "I want to thank everyone for being here today," she began, her voice warm and welcoming. "Family means everything to us. Through thick and thin, through success and, well, we support each other no matter what." Her eyes found Marcus in the back, and her smile sharpened. "Some of us have been blessed with abundance. Others have faced challenges. But what matters is that we're all here together. I'm so grateful that even those who've fallen on hard times could make it today. It shows such character." The room erupted in polite applause, but Marcus heard the undercurrent. Saw the glances. Felt Emma shrink into her chair. Something broke inside him then. Not his spirit, he'd been broken before and survived. But rather, something crystallized. A clarity that had been building for 3 years of scraping by, of working 3 jobs to keep Emma in a good school district, of eating cereal for dinner so she could have proper meals. He stood up. The room fell silent. Diane's eyes widened in alarm. Patricia's smile froze. "May I?" Marcus asked, gesturing to the microphone. Patricia blinked, caught off guard. "I suppose." Marcus walked to the front of the room, each step measured and deliberate. He took the microphone, looked out at the sea of faces, some curious, some hostile, some pitying. "Thank you, Patricia, for those kind words about family," he began, his voice steady. "I'd like to add my own congratulations to Sarah and James. Marriage is a beautiful thing when built on the right foundation. He paused, gathering his thoughts. 3 years ago, I lost everything. My business collapsed. My marriage ended. I went from living in a house I designed myself to a 2-bedroom apartment above a laundromat. And you know what I learned? Emma watched him, her small face anxious. I learned that my daughter doesn't care about fancy houses. She cares that I show up to every school play, even when I'm exhausted. She doesn't care about expensive restaurants. She cares about our Saturday morning pancake tradition, even when we can only afford the store brand mix. She doesn't care that her clothes are secondhand. She cares that I know she likes the yellow flowers better than the pink ones, and that I remember to check for monsters under her bed every single night. His voice grew stronger. You invited us here to remind me of what I've lost, to show me what failure looks like. But standing here, looking at my daughter, I've never felt more successful in my life. Because I still have the only thing that ever really mattered. Tears were streaming down Emma's face now, and not just hers. He saw other faces in the crowd softening, saw people who remembered him from before, friends who drifted away when his bank account emptied. I don't have money to give as a wedding gift, Marcus continued, but I can offer this: build your marriage on love, not comfort. On respect, not convenience. On choosing each other every single day, especially when it's hard. That's worth more than any portfolio or property or prestige. He set down the microphone and walked back to Emma, scooping her into his arms. She buried her face in his neck, whispering, I love you, Daddy. I love you too, baby girl. Always. They walked toward the exit, Marcus holding his head high. But before they reached the door, someone called out. Marcus, wait. It was James, the groom. He crossed the room quickly, extending his hand. Thank you. That was real. That was more valuable than anything on our registry. Others approached then. An old colleague offering a consulting opportunity. A distant cousin apologizing for losing touch. Even some of Diane's relatives who had always liked him, who had been forced to take sides and hated it. Patricia stood frozen at the front, her moment of triumph turned to ash. As Marcus and Emma stepped into the cool evening air, his phone buzzed. An email from James. Lunch next week. I meant what I said. We could use someone with your integrity. Marcus looked down at Emma, her dress catching the golden hour. Light, her smile brighter than any chandelier inside. Daddy, did we ruin the wedding? He thought about it, then smiled. No, sweetheart. I think maybe we saved it. They walked to their beat-up Honda, past the rows of Mercedes and BMWs, and Marcus realized something profound. He had come expecting humiliation but left with his dignity intact. They had tried to showcase his poverty, but he'd revealed their spiritual bankruptcy instead. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't success or wealth reclaimed. Sometimes it's simply refusing to be ashamed of loving what matters most. As they drove away, Emma fell asleep in the backseat, and Marcus caught his reflection in the rearview mirror. He looked like a man who had won.